Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pete's Epic Golf Podcast. Join golfer Pete as he interviews international and local golf experts and enthusiasts. Golfer Pete's guests are looking to share how his audience can improve their golf game by improving their mindset, skill set, and gear set. We ask our experts to share their practical tips on golf in one or more of these three core areas. Golfer Pete created his podcast as a resource for anyone who loves golf. Join Golfer Pete as he asks the questions we all need answers to in order to improve our golf game.
Hey, I just want to welcome our viewers to a very special podcast we're having today. And we have Gordon, who's calling in from Wilmington, North Carolina, who's part of an absolutely awesome golf company. And we're going to talk about that over the show. But welcome to the show. And Gordon, could you introduce yourself and like who you serve and what you do in the golf business?
Well, thank you, Pete. Nice to be with you. My name is Gordon Dalgleish, president of PerryGolf. My brother and I started PerryGolf in 1984, August of 1984. Hard to believe it was almost 40 years ago.
Wow.
With the intent of running golf trips to Scotland from North America. And over the years, we've been fortunate. We've expanded beyond Scotland and Ireland and the rest of the British Isles, indeed. New Zealand, Australia, some other long-haul destinations. Plus, we've got a golf cruise program in conjunction with Azamara. So, I've been very much in the middle of the golf travel industry for 40 years and managed to go through life without a job interview or resume, which is always a nice feeling.
Yes.
So that's kind of a quick background in myself.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. So what's your philosophy on golf? I mean, since you've been 40 years with Perry and running it and being in the industry, what's your philosophy?
Oh gosh, that's a big question that runs in so many directions. I've been playing golf since I was 7, growing up in Scotland. So obviously a passion for the sport. I think it's a fabulous character driver. It's a sport unlike any other because people learn how to call penalties on themselves. It's a very frustrating sport, but it's also a very humbling sport. And like I said, it creates a lot of wonderful character attributes. It's also something that is truly a lifelong activity. Whether you're 7 years of age or you're 87 years of age, you can still play. The number of people, as we all go older, the number of people that I admire because they can shoot their age or beat their age in playing the game of golf. And it's a sport that, you can't always do that when basketball or lacrosse or swimming or all the things that younger folks play, and we might have played in our younger years, you can't play for your lifetime. So golf, I mean, I just kind of, longer answer you're probably looking for, but it's something that is so intertwined in my life, both on business side and the personal side. Most of my friends are golfers. Many of the trips that I take are because of golf. So it's I always wonder what people that don't play golf, how they fill their time. But it's just, it's and at the end of the day, my experience, and I think most people that are involved in the golf industry would say that, golfers are genuinely nice people. They're solid people because of the way that golf is and the way that the sport is played. You're generally dealing with good people, and if you don't kind of qualify in that character, you're found out quite quickly. It lays your character and your general view of the world. It lays it bare, for people to decide if they want to associate with you or not.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I love that. And, to make a living playing, I mean, in the golf industry is really special because, I mean, I've played for 40 years and, but, you've traveled obviously around the world. So what would you say? I mean, this is probably a difficult one. What is your favorite course that you've played or been a part of in all your travels?
Yeah, so I've never been a great favorites person, whether it be your favorite restaurant or favorite golf course. But I'm a huge believer in to this question. It's really about who you're with.
Yeah.
It's, whether you're with family or friends and you have a great time. One of my regrets, if it is I never kept a diary of all the people I played with
Oh.
and the places I played.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I'm at a stage now after, 53 years or so of playing the game of golf, that it sure would have been nice if I could look back over the last 40 years and reflect on, even if it was names and a short note about who I played with. Because I think at the end of the day, that's the important thing. Hey, listen, we're all very fortunate if we can play at some nice places, but it's the people you're with that you remember, because that's what makes a round into something that's truly something special. I've never, as much as I've a passion for the game of golf, I'm not somebody that's going to go out and play 9 holes on my own unless I truly need to get away from something.
Yeah.
It's about talking, walking, interacting with friends and family.
Totally. Well said. I like that. I hadn't seen Mark in a number of years, but we spent 4 hours, 5 hours or something in the cart. And, it was a time where we could ask questions, get to know each other, get caught up on things. And there's not any sport that I know of that you can do that all of a sudden you can reconnect and you're playing a common game and you're talking about that and you're talking about family and friends and memories of certain things. And man, that's so special when you can have that relationship time with people outdoors in a beautiful surrounding.
And it's hard to shout questions across the net at tennis.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I'm fortunate. I play most of my golf walking as opposed to with a cart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also a huge believer that the ability to walk and play a golf course is a huge additive to the experience and from a camaraderie standpoint.
Right.
You get into a cart, you're basically talking to somebody else, and on the tee and on the green, you're having some type of exchange with the other people, the other cart. But when you're walking, you can move around and you can have a conversation halfway down the fairway with Joe, and then the second half is with Joe and Billy, and then the next hole it's with Billy, and all of a sudden you get multiple conversations going, and the ability to catch up with or learn about what's going on in somebody's life, talk about world events, current events, business. Right. It's just there's nothing better than it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I was chatting with Mark and we were talking about cruises, and I was talking about husband and wife going and females and stuff, the spouses. So share with our viewers. I love what he said about the cruise, and I forget the name of the company, but smaller cruises, but going on a golf/cruise.
Yeah, so our first foray into the golf cruise space was 1998 in the British Isles, and then in 1999 we started chartering a small ship called the Clipper Adventure that was a 120 passenger retired Russian expedition vessel. Uh-huh. We did that for about 10 years or so, and then in 2013, 2012, we got involved with Azamara. So we've been with them now for 10 plus years. Azamara was the luxury boutique cruise line of Royal Caribbean. Mm-hmm. At that stage, they had 2 ships. They're now up to 4 ships. They were sold to a private equity group just at the beginning of the pandemic. But all 4 ships are identical 700 passenger ships. Mm-hmm. And, they're the ideal size for us. We'll have somewhere between 40 and on some voyages as many as 120 golfers on board.
Okay.
And really it's allowed us to offer a program, by 2025 we'll be up to about 22 or so voyages, from the South Pacific to the Baltic to the Mediterranean, around the British Isles, and then in Asia, South Africa. So it really allows us, and the golf cruising world, there's not a lot of folks that offer it. It's an opportunity. It's very much targeted at the couples audience, where if both husband and wife play golf, terrific. If only one plays golf, that also works well, because Azamara really work hard on what they call destination immersion, where you spend more time in each port than kind of cruise ships historically do. And as a result of that, they make a big deal out of their shore excursions. So if somebody's playing golf and the partner, his spouse, it goes on a shore excursion, it works out really well where everybody's entertained. We play golf about half the days that you're on the ship. So it's not every day you're in port. And that program has really done well. We've got a lot of repeats and referrals. We see a lot of folks traveling 2 and 3 times a year with us, and so it's nice. I mean, our core business to the British Isles is historically kind of male, the group of 8 guys going on a trip, and then this introduces a nice kind of concept for couples to go and travel.
Yeah, that I like that. The destination, being able to enhance the destination and mixing the golf with that, because as long as there's something to do, the spouses will love it. I mean, because you're in an area that you've never been, so the idea that your husband can go off, if that's the case, and play a little bit and then rejoin and then reconnect. Yeah, I think that's a terrific concept.
Yeah, it's really worked well, and there's some great destinations. Our program around Ireland. If there was ever a country that was just built for a golf cruise, it's Ireland, where you've got the best golf courses that are spread around the country on the coastline. You've got a road system that, while it's better, is still not as good as it could be, and a ship that can circumnavigate the island, and you can play golf by unpacking once, and it's all very seamless, and play some of the very best courses. So there's so many places, whether it be New Zealand or Scotland or in the Mediterranean, but it really has worked terrifically well.
Awesome. I have to ask you, with the word COVID, how did you survive COVID? Because obviously people weren't trying.
Yeah, it's certainly. I was just actually reflecting the other night that here we are in May of 2023, and it's kind of hard to believe it was 3 years ago that we were just kind of getting full on into this. We were, 2 months. It was about March the 15th or so that the world, right? And it really is. It's remarkable to me that it was 3 years ago. So it was certainly a challenging time for us. As I said, we're doing this almost 40 years now, and over the years we've seen from terrorism to foot and mouth disease in the British Isles to volcanoes in Iceland that have affected travel. So that the travel industry is always susceptible to something,
right?
It's just part and parcel of what we do. Obviously, the pandemic was at the high end of affecting it. We went for basically about 18 months with effectively no traffic. So I think our last passengers were March. They finished a program up in South Africa in March, early March of 2020, and then really we didn't get restarted until the second week of August 2021, when the UK opened up slightly. But then, New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa didn't open up that following winter. So it was certainly challenging. But if you've been doing something long enough, and you've got kind of the Scottish conservative roots behind you, you know how to weather storms, and come out the other side. And certainly, since then, it's certainly business has been quite buoyant and robust. And I think there's an expression called revenge travel, where travelers are making up for lost time, and I think that's certainly going on just now.
Yeah, Mark, I think, shared the timeline or the waiting list, or how long you have to book out now. And can you share with our viewers like? I mean, because obviously that.
Yeah, there's effectively. I mean, and you can look at it from a few different kind of metrics. If our demographics kind of that 55 to 75-year-old person, they've now, they've got a clearly defined travel lifespan. If you've sold your business and you're 65 and you think you're going to travel for 15 years, and all of a sudden you just lost 2 years of that, that's meaningful to you. If you're 30 years of age, it's not as meaningful. And possibly just the way that the US economy's operated for the last number of years, that same 65-year-old has probably got significantly more resources now than they did, 5 or even 2 years ago. So, there's that revenge travel kind of component. So the lead time that we're seeing, there's basically, number one, on the golf cruise side, we'll push the cruises out about two years in advance.
Okay.
And we'll always see a solid booking for that. I mean, we're already, sold out in the suites, for example, in our South Pacific in January, February of 2025. And then you go to the British Isles, and there's really 4 golf courses that kind of stand head and shoulders above the others with respect to demand and also lack of availability. That would be the Old Courses, St Andrews, Muirfield, Royal County Down, and Portrush. And they've effectively, for 2024, these 4 golf courses are sold out. Now, there's plenty of other very good golf courses throughout the British Isles that are still available, but just the booking window has accelerated by 4 or 5 months over what it was pre-pandemic. It has been just as demand has increased, and as I'll say, they're not building any new old courses. The capacity hasn't meaningfully changed. So as you've got demand increasing, it's not as if you can go build another beachfront hotel and that's going to satisfy some of that. So the booking window is certainly accelerated into the 15 to 18 months in advance for trips to the British Isles. Okay. It's which is, listen, I would sound like a farmer for complaining. It is what it is, and it does impact your business and your workflow. It's positive overall, but at the same time, you've got to adjust some things as how you do it to take advantage of it and to service your clients as best you can.
Yeah, I know our club, our rounds were up 44% with COVID, and the course got a lot of wear and tear because you're obviously playing that many. And so we've been trying to we bring down our membership slightly because it shot up during COVID. So it's a delicate balance in the golf business. You need enough revenue to put in new greens and have beautiful traps and stuff, but you can't have too many players because the course does take a beating if you constantly are playing, have that many rounds going on. And so I have to ask you too, Gordon. So you've played golf for a long time. Has there been a piece of equipment in the last year or so that you have enjoyed or liked or can share with our viewers that, man, I found this club now?
No, I've never been a huge technology guy.
Okay.
I really haven't. But the one thing I will say from a technology, as I've gotten older, I think, clearly it's not that we've gotten stronger as we've gotten older. Technology has gotten more forgiving and, more productive. So, I'm probably hitting the ball now as a 60-year-old as far as I have ever. So it's, so then you get into that whole argument about, the golf balls and the distance and the length of courses and, whether the R&A and the USGA should restrict it. But no, there's no particular, but I do like the old 62-degree wedge. If I had to pick one club that has been in a couple of years now, is the old 62 wedge, and it gets you out of some trouble a little bit easier than some of the other things. And it's funny, I played on Thursday with some friends that were all slightly older than me, and I realized that I was the only one that wasn't taking head covers off as much as they were. There was a lot of 3 and 5 and 7 woods and bits and bobs, but it's all as an old friend who ran the rules for the R&A said, and this was at a time of square grooves or something. He said, you know what, I've never heard of anybody that gave up the game because it was too easy. And so, so all the technology that's out there to make it more enjoyable, that's really what it is. If you find a golf club that's more enjoyable, stick with it. A putter that goes in the hole more often than not, stick with it.
So true. Good philosophy. Do you change out your wedges? I mean, I know the tour is like crazy. They change them out like every round. How often do you change out your wedges?
I tell you what, if I find it, when I've got a group of wedges just now that I like, and if it's anything similar to the last one, I'll keep using them until there's no grooves.
Okay.
I know the distance generally that the ball should go, and I've got a pretty good handle on it. And no, I'm not a big, the most I'll change out is a grip. And, it's some folks are golf equipment buffs and get into all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just kind of, give me something to swing at it, and I'm generally pretty happy. But I've got my stuff, and I like it.
Yes. I know we both share a friend, John Tanner, and we both used R90s for years. I finally gave mine up about 5 years ago when there was no grooves at all. And it was completely worn out. And I loved it because I hit it so well. And it was a club I was just comfortable with, but there was nothing on it. And I just had to finally retire it. But
absolutely.
So I got to ask you this, just for the curiosity's sake. So we got the Live Tour, hit the scene about a year or so ago. What's your philosophy? What do you like? What do you dislike about the introduction of a different type of tour like the Live?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It just strikes me that when you look at the whole situation, that the PGA Tour possibly missed an opportunity, and I think you go back and the PGA of America and the PGA Tour split in 1971. A lot has changed since 1971 in 50 plus years. The idea of the California swing and the Florida swing and the Texas swing on the PGA Tour in the early 1970s was relevant. But now with the way that the world has evolved and the world is flat, it was an opportunity to take the PGA Tour and genuinely make it a global offering, so that you had an Australasian swing, you had an Asian swing, you had a European swing, with still the focus on the United States. But golf is such a global sport. I think that there was an element of we like the status quo. And they weren't open to. Now, I mean, there's all these counter arguments about the money and the sports washing and all that stuff. But that the old sports washing argument is a tough one because of just the way that the corporations are.
Yeah, I mean they're all intertwined in money.
They're so intertwined. Absolutely. And the minute you start kind of pulling a strand here, there's something else out here, and I mean, it's a very complex. That's a complex argument that once you open that Pandora's box, you can't say, oh no. But what we do here is okay, but this isn't okay.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate because I think there's clearly some players. I mean, and you also have to go back and think about the legacy of Jones and Palmer and Nicklaus and all these and all the people that played the game before, to what we were talking about at the beginning. It's a golf that's got this kind of unique heritage and tradition and camaraderie and all the things. It just seems unfortunate that some of the players have rather than participate in the way that it's all playing out right now, rather than being kind of working towards creating a legacy from a historical golf standpoint, they just wanted to cash their chips in early.
Sure.
And then some of them are trying to argue that they should be able to cash their chips in early and remain as a from a historical tradition standpoint, which I think is probably it's a bit of a tough argument there. But overall, you hope that they can find some compromise. But as somebody once said to me that that maybe that both Moynihan and Greg Norman should resign and let two cooler heads prevail and discuss it. But as they said, have you ever met an Australian that doesn't like a good bar fight?
Yeah, exactly. You got two good egos there that love to, compete. I mean, it's competition, and I love. Have you seen an actual live event? Do you ever watch any of it?
No, I truly, other than if it was on a television when I walked through a golf shop or something. And the idea of a shotgun. Listen, there's some elements to it that are very interesting. The shotgun of start. Golf course. You can make counter argument. Golf courses were designed to be played from the first hole to the 18th, and there's a flow to it. The 3-round event. Is that why are events 4-round events and majors are 4-round events, and now all of a sudden you're doing 3? I mean, it's very much a made for television type of thing.
Yep.
But there's some interesting attributes to it. only time will tell. Much smarter heads than I will figure out a way of it working, and either it will succeed or it won't, or they'll come together. And but I don't think that it's not great for the game of golf the way it is right now.
Yeah, there is that tension there. I like Phil Mickelson's interview after the Masters. He said a couple things, and he said, "Hey, it's not for everybody, but he likes the idea of team aspect, and he likes the idea of the way it's set up. It's different. It's for TV. There's so many more shots. You're teeing off same time." And I was kind of from the school, shotgun start. I don't know about that, but I've been watching a little bit because I don't watch TV. So I lost the PGA element of it. So I gravitated to watching it on my apps. And I really found it interesting that the way they kept the speed of it. I mean, it was really fast moving. I've seen a lot of shots and a lot of different scenarios. And they're talking about the team here, how the team competes, and they're high-fiving each other when they're on the team and supporting each other. So, and then Phil said, it's not to replace the tour. It's an addition to it. Yeah. So, I mean, you look at how golf's evolving. Hey, if you can add another element that brings different people to the game and you make it more global, I mean, there's some positive things that are going to come out of it, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, earlier you were making reference to the fact that there's 14 million golfers and 16 million, I can't remember the exact numbers, 16 million that were off golf course golfers.
Yeah, more off course than on.
Yeah, Top Golf, etc. I mean, so you've got, listen, the world is changing, and we don't all wear, the spectators don't all wear jackets and ties as they did in the Bobby Jones era to watch a tournament.
Exactly.
And ladies with long dresses. So I mean, it's changed, and it's kind of, how does it fit in the commercial side of things now? And like I said, hopefully they'll find a way of making it work. But it certainly kind of created some polarization in the short term.
Yeah, it has. And people that don't even follow golf now know about golf because they know that, the friction and all the tension out there. It's gotten some media attention. And I think, any media bringing shining a light on something, unless it's totally negative and all that, I think is good, because people now know, there's another side to golf that they probably didn't have any idea. And
so, you know what? If you'd gone back 2 years, I suppose, and kind of suggested to someone that Phil Mickelson would be the villain, Tiger Woods would be the underdog,
exactly,
would have been laughed out of any 19th hole.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a funny thing, never say never. It's a funny thing that happens, and that's kind of where we are. It's quite quite remarkable.
Yeah, it's been a good journey of a couple of years. I kind of liked that it happened, and now some people might disagree because they're traditionalists and they have to have it. But hey, you're right. Things are changing in the world, and you got to be open to change, or you're going to be disappointed in a lot of cases. So I got to ask you, the most famous golfer you ever met. Can you share with our viewers that most famous girl or guy that you've ever met?
Actually, in 1979, I'm looking at a picture of it right now.
Yeah.
And in 1979, I came over to Orlando. I stayed with a gentleman, Jim and Gail Bell. He was the tournament director for the Bay Hill Classic. And he had been hired to run that by Mark McCormick and Arnold Palmer.
Right.
And so I was staying with him for about 5 weeks in November, looking at colleges in the United States. My brother was down from Ohio State, where he was playing golf for Thanksgiving. And there was a gentleman, Brian Morgan, who was a photographer for the Daily Record in Scotland, and he was over in New York at the time covering the Shah of Iran being in hospital. Long story to a simple question. But Brian was trying to break his way into the golf industry. And he flew down to Orlando to meet Arnold Palmer and take some pictures. And so through the whole Bay Hill connection and Mr. Bell, I've got a picture here of my brother, myself, and Arnold Palmer. And indeed,
Ooh,
the golf bag that's sitting in the middle of it, we only see the head covers because
yeah.
because that had Ohio State on it. And I remember Mr. Palmer making it quite clear that Ohio State had to be cropped out of any image because that was,
Really?
was his alma
What
mater.
Wake Forest?
Well, yes. I mean, Arnold went to Wake Forest and
Yeah.
Nicholas went to Ohio State. But that probably of all the folks I have met over the years, I mean, obviously he would be probably the most notable.
Yes.
But yeah, that was many years ago.
Yeah, I'll have to say Arnold was mine. I was volunteering in a senior event and early, and when he just started playing the seniors, and I'm over there in kind of a woods where you go over the trees, and he tried to go over the trees, and of course it kicked down, and it was right by me, and so I mean he came up, he was like a long lost brother. He was kidding around, talking about stuff. He goes, "Man, I thought I could go over that corner," It was such a friendly conversation, and I always remembered it because, man, he just made you feel special and made you feel like, hey, it's just fun he just enjoyed meeting people.
Yeah, there was Peter Jacobson always tells a story about the first time that he came out and they were signing autographs, and Jacobson made a kind of a poor autograph, and Palmer stopped, and there was a line of people, and he said, "Listen," he goes, "these people come out to see you. They want your autograph. They don't want to get some chicken scratch.
Right.
They want to know who they want to look back on it a year from now, a month from now,
Yeah.
5 years, and know who it was." And so Palmer, always had a very distinctive autograph. Took the
He
time.
did. It's one on my
And,
wall. Yeah.
everybody, you'd be. It's almost impossible to find somebody that's got anything but the most positive of comment.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's just the way it is.
Absolutely. I mean, you can build a course on him on how to deal with people, just his respect for the game and everything he contributed to the game. And you want anybody to model somebody like
Yep.
Arnold Palmer, because he was a special kind of golfer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
man, so who do you when it comes to golf, is there somebody out there that I need to know that we could bring on our show and our viewers would enjoy? Is there anybody in the golf business that you might be able to think of?
Yeah, I tell you, I'm trying to think of some of the folks that are out there just now making a difference. I mean, Ben Cowan Doer, developed Cape. Ben was in the travel business, and then he found the land up in Cape Breton Island that they developed, Cabot Highlands up there. And then from there, he's got Cabot St. Lucia. There's a Crenshaw Coeur golf course down there, and they've got they bought the World Woods down in Central Florida. And Ben is just a terrific fella, and really making his mark as a development side of things.
Right.
And I think people are always intrigued because we see the end result, whether it be a private club or a resort or daily fee or whatever it might be, and there's so much that goes into it to get it to the point that people actually see it, play it, join it, call it what you want. Is much more than just the hardscape. You have to get the right membership or be in the right position, the right messaging for the right product for the marketplace. And I think Ben's somebody that is always a very interesting person to chat to. He's been very much mentored by Mike Kaiser, and Ben got Mike Kaiser involved at the beginning up in Canada. I'm trying to think.
I'll reach out to Mark and and through them and just see, because I do agree with you on the course design. We had our start of our year, we had a course designer present that had designed some of our holes at Pine Tree, and it was intriguing as he described how they change holes and they look at the landing areas, and they look at the positioning of the greens and the traps, and how people say, okay, we want to make this course more like this. And so then they have to take that piece of land and really move dirt around and create something real special. But he would take before pictures and after, and he said, now, this is why we did this, because everybody they didn't have a landing area. So we felt that was important to have a landing. So they created it. So I agree with you. We see the end result, but we don't often hear what went into the design of a hole or a course.
Another person that's really having an impact just now is Andrew Green.
Okay.
Andrew redid Oak Hill. He's redoing Eastlake in Atlanta, where the Tour Championship is. He redid Inverness. He redid Congressional. He's got a lot coming up. He's really making an incredible name for himself in kind of the rework, refurbishment, call it what you want. Apparently, Andrew is unbelievably well prepared when he goes in for a job. I think it was Eastlake, the folks at Eastlake that told me that of all the kind of the architects that they considered, he came in and he had uncovered this aerial image of Eastlake from the 1940s that nobody had ever seen, including them. And he makes sure he has as much information on where the course came from, as opposed to we've all seen redos of golf courses that really are more what the new architect thinks of, what it should be, as opposed to kind of taking it back to its roots and maybe kind of dusting that off a little bit. So I think Andrew's one that also is an interesting because of the impact that he's having.
Okay, well, we'll reach out to him. We'll see. Yeah, I love that. I love that whole thought of what goes into thinking about your course design and the process that they have to go through, because it's more than just moving a tiny bit of dirt.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I know I could talk to you all day long, Gordon, because golf is something we, just chat, and it's wonderful to have you on the show. And I want to thank you for taking the time and being a guest on here. We really appreciate you visiting with us. And so,
Pete, it's been my pleasure and great to reconnect with you.
Yes, thank you, Gordon. We appreciate it. So all our viewers, thank you. You'll see if there's give us a little way to contact you, maybe either through Mark or something that our viewers can, if they're interested in that they want to do some traveling, even though they have to set their sights on a little bit longer out, but they have to start somewhere.
Well, our website is PerryGolf.com.
Okay.
And the phone number for those that still use it is just 800-344-5257. But
awesome.
Hopefully we can welcome you onto a trip at some point.
That's awesome. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.